The FIA just dropped new evidence from inside Norris' car and it's blowing up everything we thought we knew about qualifying in Abu Dhabi. From irregular GPS data to a coded radio message, the investigation is now moving toward actual penalties and it directly affects the front of the grid. If Norris is penalized, Oscar Piastri stands to gain massively, possibly launching into P2 right behind Verstappen for Sunday's Grand Prix. Subscribe right now because this bombshell could flip the championship order in real time, and we're just getting started. What began as a calm Saturday evening in Abu Dhabi has exploded into one of the most dramatic late-season twists Formula One has seen in years. The FIA has now officially confirmed that it is in possession of new evidence connected to Lando Norris' Q3 outlap, and the implications are immediate. In the span of just a few hours, what was initially a quiet post-qualifying review has transformed into a full-blown investigation with penalties already under deliberation. And while this spells major trouble for Norris, it could be a game-changing gift for his teammate, Oscar Piastri. The investigation centers around telemetry and GPS data collected during Q3, where Norris and Piastri were running nose-to-tail. At the time, Verstappen had voiced concerns about tire temperatures and lack of clean air due to the McLaren cars running unusually slow in the final sector of their outlap. Now, thanks to a newly surfaced batch of data, the FIA has identified irregularities specifically with Norris' pace and throttle application that may indicate coordinated manipulation of track position. The aim? Possibly to create an optimal gap for one car while compromising others. What's more explosive is the content of a now-reviewed radio message that had previously not been flagged in real time. The message, according to sources close to the FIA, used a coded instruction sent from the McLaren pit wall to Norris, referencing Plan Echo and a target Delta. This message was delivered just seconds before Norris and Piastri simultaneously lifted in the same two corners, raising suspicion that the instruction was not about Norris' own lap, but about controlling the space between the two McLarens to disrupt cars behind them. The FIA has also acknowledged that Norris' throttle trace deviated significantly from previous outlaps, dropping nearly 18% below average in a portion of the track that normally sees full acceleration during qualifying prep laps. That detail is not random because it happened at the exact point where Verstappen, running directly behind the McLarens, lost tire temperature and front-end grip. In a session where margins were razor-thin, even minor manipulation of outlap flow can translate to tenths of a second lost in the final push. For Norris, this could result in a grid penalty. And for Piastri, it could be a career-defining opening. The Australian was already celebrating a strong qualifying result, but if Norris is hit with a drop of 3 or more places, Piastri could inherit a front-row start alongside Verstappen. In a season where McLaren has often struggled to turn qualifying pace into race wins, this unexpected reshuffle gives Piastri a rare opportunity to launch his race strategy from the clean side of the grid and possibly challenge Red Bull head-to-head into Turn 1. This is not just about one lap or one message. The FIA's investigation now extends to whether the team orchestrated a sequence of actions using both cars to benefit one without disclosing the full plan to the stewards. That touches on sporting integrity, and if McLaren is found guilty of coordinated manipulation, it could result in sanctions not just for Norris but also for the team itself. The tension inside the McLaren garage is now palpable, with engineers under review and media pressure mounting with every minute that passes. For Piastri, the timing is almost surreal. After a season marked by steady progress and flashes of brilliance, this incident could be the moment that propels him into the spotlight with a real shot at podium or even victory. With Verstappen watching from ahead, and Norris under review behind, Piastri may now find himself perfectly placed to capitalize on one of the most unexpected turnarounds of the year. And all of it triggered by a single radio message that was never meant to be heard. Lando Norris' Q3 lap had initially looked like a well-executed top-tier qualifying performance, solid, measured, and enough to position himself ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri. But a deeper look at the telemetry now reveals a different story. According to the FIA's latest review, Norris' outlap was slower than average in 3 key zones: the exit of Turn 5, the entry into Turn 8, and the approach to Turn 11. These were all high-load areas where maintaining tire temperature is essential, and slowing through these corners had a domino effect on drivers behind him, especially Max Verstappen. The FIA flagged a 15-second stretch of throttle data where Norris was 12% below his previous Q2 average. This means he coasted through areas typically taken with moderate acceleration, likely to stretch the gap for a teammate behind him or close the door on a rival following him. In the context of qualifying, this isn't a minor tactic. It directly influences grip, tire life, and aero stability for any car behind. Verstappen's team was the first to complain, but now with this new evidence, Norris' strategy is under official scrutiny. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri executed his Q3 push lap cleanly, with no anomalies in his outlap or throttle data. His sector deltas improved across the board, and he outpaced several rivals on merit. However, if Norris is found to have benefited unfairly from team tactics or coordinated manipulation, Piastri's role becomes even more pivotal. He stands to inherit Norris' grid position, possibly slotting into second place if the stewards rule that Norris impeded another driver or breached the sporting code. That jump from third to second, or fourth to second, depending on final grid reshuffle, is more than symbolic. It places Piastri on the clean side of the grid, which historically holds a 0.3 second advantage into turn 1 at Yas Marina. He also gets direct track position against Verstappen, meaning McLaren could use him as a chess piece in the opening laps to apply pressure, force strategy deviation, or simply block early overtakes from faster cars behind. Piastri, often cast as the rookie support act, could suddenly find himself in the spotlight with real race-winning tools. It also changes McLaren's inter-team dynamic. If Norris is sanctioned and Piastri moves ahead, the team must consider team orders, pit priority, and undercut strategy differently. Normally, McLaren favors whichever driver is ahead on track, but a penalty-induced reshuffle may trigger internal tension, especially given how close the two have been in pace all season. If the FIA's ruling comes late Saturday or early Sunday, McLaren may have just hours to rewrite their entire race plan around a new lead car. Another consequence lies in the broader Constructors' Championship picture. Every grid position counts, and with Mercedes and Ferrari breathing down McLaren's neck, losing front-row positioning could jeopardize not just a podium, but vital end-of-season points. If Norris drops 3 or 5 positions, and Piastri cannot convert his starting advantage into early race control, the team risks losing momentum in a weekend where they were supposed to maximize every opportunity. For Oscar Piastri, this is a test of preparation and mentality. He did his job in qualifying: clean lap, consistent outlap, and no radio tricks. But the window now opens for something greater. With Verstappen ahead and chaos behind, Piastri's race may come down to how well he can handle the unexpected. He's no longer just the quiet talent in the background, he's a potential protagonist in a race shaped by a teammate's misstep and a regulatory storm that is still unfolding. The FIA's ability to analyze driver behavior during qualifying has grown exponentially over the last decade. Every car on the grid transmits a constant stream of GPS data, throttle and brake traces, engine modes, and even tire temperature metrics in real time. That means when something unusual happens on track, like a sudden drop in pace without technical justification, the FIA can overlay that data against session norms and team radio logs. In Norris' case, the new evidence includes clear discrepancies between his Q3 outlap and the previous sessions, as well as radio instructions that hint at possible manipulation. What makes Norris' behavior particularly suspicious is how consistent it was with a premeditated strategy. The throttle trace doesn't show momentary hesitation or a lift due to traffic or a mistake. Instead, it reveals a calculated, sustained coast through multiple acceleration zones. The FIA compares this against what's called the expected performance envelope, which is essentially a profile of how a car should behave under normal prep conditions. Norris' car ran well outside that window at exactly the same time Verstappen and other rivals were on their final flying lap preparation. Team radio is also critical. FIA stewards have access to all real-time communications, but what raised red flags in this case was a message that reportedly included coded language: Plan Echo, maintain gap, Delta confirmed. None of this violates the letter of the law on its own. But when used in tandem with synchronized liftoffs and out-of-norm pacing, the context changes. The FIA has made it clear in previous rulings that coded messages used to manipulate traffic or influence another driver's performance are not allowed even if there's no direct blocking. Another layer to the investigation involves intent versus effect. The FIA does not need to prove malicious intent if the effect of a driver's actions materially impacts another car's performance. If Norris' slower outlap caused Verstappen or others to lose tire temperature or track position, that alone could trigger a penalty under Article 27.4, which forbids unnecessary impeding in qualifying. The stewards may also consider Article 23.3, which covers general conduct of drivers in relation to competitive fairness and use of team strategy. So, what kind of penalties are on the table? Based on precedent, Norris could face a grid drop of 3 or 5 places. In more severe cases, like when impeding is found to be deliberate and coordinated with another driver or the pit wall, a 10-place grid penalty or deletion of the Q3 time is also possible. While disqualification is unlikely unless there's a provable intent to deceive or manipulate results, a mid-tier penalty could still shuffle the entire front of the grid, pushing Piastri up and dramatically altering race day dynamics. This incident also reopens the ongoing discussion around outlap conduct and team radio transparency. With the 2025 regulation updates coming into effect soon, including tighter rules on radio codes and formation lap behavior, the outcome of this case may influence how future infractions are judged. If the FIA penalizes Norris for this, it will be one of the clearest messages yet that qualifying gamesmanship, especially when it involves teamwork and coded language, is no longer tolerated. For McLaren, this becomes more than just a penalty issue. It strikes at the heart of trust between drivers and engineers. If Norris was following instructions to aid Piastri or manage the gap in a way that now jeopardizes the team's position, the fallout could extend beyond the grid order. It touches team ethics, strategy calls under pressure, and how much autonomy drivers really have when critical decisions are made. And for Oscar Piastri, it may be the rare situation where a teammate's technical overstep opens the door to a golden opportunity on race day.